Now let's stay with these tavern shootings and speak now to Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance in South Africa Director Maurice Smithers. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. What exactly is going on in the taverns?
Well, that's a good question. And you know, it's interesting because these two events, sad as they are, and we give our condolences to the families of the people who lost family members. It proves a point that we've been making the whole 2 weeks since Enyobeni, which is that the Enyobeni incident has attracted a lot of attention because of the number of people who died and because of the age of the people who died. But actually, people are dying in taverns every weekend. I went onto the internet earlier today and I was just looking through and finding in Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, right across the country, every weekend, you will see that somebody has died in a tavern, some assaults have happened in a tavern, or shebeen, or some other kind of liquor outlet. So it points to a really much more fundamental problem than just underage drinking that's been associated with Enyobeni. It does point, as somebody has said, to the gun issue, and one of our alliance partners, Gun Free South Africa, I'm sure will be commenting on that issue. But it's quite clear that the country really needs to take a good, hard look at what's happening with alcohol, which is why we have called as SAPA to the president. We've written to the president asking for a meeting between civil society and the president and cabinet to discuss this issue and to say how are we going to find a way forward, because as is pointed out, it's communities that are affected. It's ordinary civil society members who are affected and who have no voice, who have no way of actually intervening to prevent these things from happening. So it's long overdue for something to be done.
I know we talk about the issue of guns, and we've seen even at some point the Norwood police station, for example, guns were stolen there, and we've seen theft in various other police stations. But I know you say there are fundamental issues here that are not being dealt with. Which blind spots are we missing as a country in order to, as we try to have conversations around these incidents and how to deal with them?
Well, back in 2016, government actually adopted a new national liquor policy. Cabinet approved a new national liquor policy, and that is based on the World Health Organization global strategy for reducing the harmful use of alcohol. And there are three key things that need to be done, and these things are not being done in South Africa. The one is we have to severely limit or ban alcohol advertising, because that has a profound impact on people's attitudes towards alcohol. That's how young kids end up going to taverns to go and celebrate a pens down. The second thing is we've got to actually reduce availability of alcohol. There are too many outlets in the country. Many of them are in residential areas as well. And many of them do operate beyond their legal hours, as we saw with Enyobeni and many others. And the third thing is to increase the cost of alcohol, because alcohol is actually pretty cheap in the country, which makes it makes it affordable for people to drink and to drink excessively. Those are the three major steps, and there are various permutations involved in doing those things. But unless we do all of those things, we really aren't going to solve the problem. We also obviously have to improve enforcement, and we need to get rid of corruption within the system, because we know, it's public knowledge, that there are police, not all police, but there are some police who are corrupt and who allow unlicensed taverns and shebeens and so on to operate. And we know also that the liquor boards are not doing their work properly. And a really critical thing, a real big blind spot, is the fact that communities are not given any assistance in trying to have some say over how alcohol is sold and consumed in their community. And why this is so important is, Bongi, I don't know if you know this. Are you aware that you as a citizen can object to an application for a liquor license?
Luckily, I do, because I have read the Act as well, and I know that there's quite a lot that I can be able to object to, particularly when it comes to, the issuing of that license. And I'm keen to latch on to something you've said. You say increase the price of alcohol. Some are already saying there's the sin tax, but it doesn't seem to be a deterrent. So by how much do you increase this alcohol, as you would suggest, so that people don't have their hands on it, as widely as you say they shouldn't?
Sure. No, look, the excise tax, we don't call it sin tax, by the way, ourselves. And the reason we don't is because we don't want to make this a moral or judgmental issue. The reason why a lot of people drink is a lot to do with the forces in society that drive them in that direction. So we don't want to point fingers at individuals. But the excise tax could be higher, definitely. In places like Botswana, they took the tax up to 30% at some point. The other thing is you have what's called minimum unit pricing. And what you do there is you actually say that you cannot sell alcohol below a certain price. So therefore, in every single outlet, there's got to be alcohol prices that are standard, and you shouldn't be able to have special offers. For example, sometimes you see around Christmas time and so on, they'll say you can get 24 cans of beer for the price of 18. Those kinds of things must be stopped completely, and in that way, you can actually push the price up, not to stop people drinking altogether, but to stop them drinking so much. The other thing is also to get rid of large container sizes, particularly with beer and cider, because if you open a bottle of a 750 ml or a liter bottle of beer, you can't close it. You have to drink the whole thing, and having it in those big sizes also makes it more affordable to buy more alcohol for less per liter. So those are some of the ways in which it can be dealt with, and it can be done, but it needs to be done soon.
Pardon me for putting you on the spot here. I know you're not a security expert or anything, but looking at the incidents that we've been seeing, we saw that shooting in Khayelitsha, for example, at a tavern as well. We saw, as you've mentioned, some of these statistics. Would you say these are just random shootings, or does it appear that there's something more sinister going on?
Look, it's very difficult to know. And as you say, I'm not a security expert, but it does seem clear that, I can't imagine why somebody would pull up at a particular tavern and shoot up the place for no apparent reason, some kind of random act of craziness. It sounds like it was a planned thing, and there must be something behind it, maybe something to do with that particular tavern, maybe something to do with the people who were in the tavern. I don't necessarily think it's an organized thing across the country, but I certainly think that there are probably undercurrents, maybe in the underworld, who knows, where people are actually using taverns as a way to even scores against people that they see as rivals. It's a very difficult thing, and I would hope that the police would actually look very deeply into all kinds of possibilities, so that we can actually begin to try and find a way to stop it from happening.
Certainly a lot of questions around law enforcement there, Maurice. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Certainly do appreciate it.